Uh, Welcome to the February meeting of Health and Education. Sorry for the delay, but obviously with the crowd, so with the help of the mayor and our people on that do the taping, we've moved the meeting in here, which should be a lot more comfortable for everyone, I guess. Before we go through our usual agenda, I want to thank the Eagleville community for being here. Our many guests and good friends from the Eagleville area and other guests as well. And I want to recognize Mayor Toon. And Mr. Toon, it's always great to see you again. Um, the computers in Eagleville are working, and they're working very well. And we want to thank you all for the emails as well, and the tone and the phone lines are working too. I've been told by Commissioner Jordan. Appreciate the tone, appreciate the information, and the request. I answered as many of mine as I could before I came up here today, and yesterday and the day before as well. So it is good to have citizen input. I want to remind you that we are really not that familiar with this room as a committee. The commission meets in here. We are usually out here, and the mayor is really usually right here. That's the mayor. I am not the mayor. But Mayor Burgess, of course, is with us this evening, as he is in almost every committee meeting every month. And I think he's, maybe except for once, he's always been with us, and we appreciate that. We're discussing getting this project done. Well, as far as I know, giving you a personal opinion here, we're not arguing about the worth of the project or whether the project is needed or not, but every committee member here can ask any question that they want answered. We will go through our regular meeting. We're going to have some guests come up and address the committee and the group in a few minutes, but we do have what probably will be a brief agenda. And before we get to the recommendation on the Eagleville project, first things first, I need a motion on approval of the minutes and a second. All in favor? If no discussion, say aye, please. All righty. Community care is our second thing on our agenda here, and since the mayor is chairman there and Ms. Cook is on that committee as well, we do have a and I have to admit I have not read this yet, but we've got two experts here. Mr. Mayor, do you want to address this at all, or Ms. Cook, please?
Excuse me, I will. Everything's going well in community care. And you have any questions?
Sure. That is normal, and that is terrific. Mr. King seems to be doing an outstanding job. Well, with Mr. Mayor, we in good shape here. We'll go ahead and approve the report as submitted. Do I have a motion to that effect? And a second? Second from Commissioner Gooch. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, and that passes. All right. Health Department, Ms. Garrett is here with us this morning, or this evening rather. And where are you, Ms. Garrett? Come right on up. And we appreciate the report as always. And I think you want to call attention to a couple of things in the Health Department report this month. And please take it away.
Yes, this is our January report, and as you can see from our numbers, our patient encounters and visits are continuing to increase, especially in our Smyrna clinic, that end of the county. As you can see, we are continuing to do quite a few immunizations in the clinic, and some of that is still attributed to the H1N1. If you have not gotten your H1N1 vaccination, it is still recommended that you get that. It is available free for you at the health department. We do it all day, every day. Wednesday is walk-in with no appointment needed, 8 to 5. That's all I have. If you have any questions or.
You have some material in that report. You're going to go the next time. Is that correct?
Yes. Some health data numbers came out for our county, and we looked very good. We were third in the state for overall good health, and I want to discuss that more at our next meeting, go into depth with that.
Number you want to give out one more time?
The phone number for the clinic, or if you have any questions about H1N1, is 898-7880, 898-7880, And for the H1N1, you can hit extension 158. You'll get directly to someone for that, extension 158.
I need a motion to approve the Health Department report. A second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you, Ms. Garrett. We appreciate it. We'll see you next month. All right. Our special projects report, Ms. Jolly is ill tonight, but she is being ably replaced by Ms. Nolan, our finance director, and Ms. Nolan has a microphone at her desk, and she certainly knows how to talk, believe me. So, Ms. Nolan, if you would, this material, of course, commissioners, you've had for some time on school building program and status report and special projects. So, Ms. Nolan, thank you.
Lisa, are you on? Push your button.
No. Although we heard you fine, I don't think the audience did.
Okay. I don't have much to report.
Try that again. I heard you, but I know the audience did not.
Okay. All right. What I just said is that it appears that the two middle schools are between 49 and 55% complete as far as their construction cost, and Central Magnet looks to be about 5% complete. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of activity going on within this program.
Well, remind the audience that most of Central Magnet's work, of course, will be done later on in the spring and in the summer. The two middle schools are about 55%, you said. You said that twice, once silently and once with a microphone, so I appreciate that. Any questions for Ms. Nolan on the special projects report from any commissioner? Okay, I need a motion to approve and a second. Ms. Cook and Mr. Commissioner Jordan on the second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Thank you, Ms. Jolly. I hope you get well soon, and thank you, Ms. Nolan. Well done. Another role that you have filled for our county. The school board has two recommendations for us tonight, and also remind the audience that we have had considerable information about really both of these, and we have had both of these for, I would assume, a number of days. I've had mine for at least 4 or 5 days. So Mr. Jeff Sandvik is with us tonight, and Mr. Clardy is with us as well. And Mr. Sandvik, as he almost always does, will read one recommendation at a time. And Mr. Sandvik, if you would, take it away on the first one, and welcome. And let's tell the gentleman up the stairs, do they control the microphones, Mr. Mayor? Or it's on now.
Is this better? Okay. Mr. Gill sends his apologies. He had a previous commitment that was scheduled a couple of months ago, and he was unable to change that. The first item we are bringing back the lighting management system that we brought in October. And we kind of deferred it because of funding, the timing of the funding, the source of the funding. And the state has approved our grant. That's $741,000 for these lighting sensors. But the loan documents borrowing the money through the state will not be available for 5 to 7 more months. They got kind of tied up with a race to the top, getting approval from the comptroller, all of that. And because of this time delay, we are asking to forward to the commission the 7-year lease purchase plan Mr. Karoom's firm has prepared. And we envision this as short-term funding, but we would like to go ahead and get started on this project. The financing terms of Mr. Karoom's proposal match the terms that the state will offer when those loans are available, and match what Mr. Karoom proposed back in October. And it is our intent that this would be temporary funding if the commission is willing to pursue this route. Since I believe it was kind of finalized Thursday morning, a little late to get it on the board's last agenda, but Mr. Karoom and our board attorney, Mr. Jeff Reed, have come to agreement cleaning up some items on that lease purchase agreement. So we are requesting county commission approval for funding the $1,596,035 balance for Excel Energies Group, $2.337,515 proposal for occupancy sensors, and to consider Excel Energy Group's 7-year lease purchase plan as another funding option. If this committee is open to it, we could get that on our next board agenda. No, we couldn't bring it, the board meets the same night as budget. I'm sorry about that. So we will bring forward the lease purchase agreement to the next Health and Ed committee then if this passes from here. We were not sure we would have the final terms ironed out. But
Other questions for Mr. Sandvik? If I'm not, and let me ask one, right, or at least say this. This proposal has already run the gauntlet, hasn't it? It's been through us. It's been through all the way through to the commission, hasn't it? No, it has not been to the commission yet? Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, this is for, well, we're going to turn out the lights when there's nobody in the room, and we're going to save tons of energy. That's the plan.
yes.
Okay. All right. Do we have questions from, I know we've discussed this before, but let's discuss it again.
Did we not act on this at the commission level at all yet? I thought we were waiting to verify how we were going to do the funding because it was in 3 different parts. But so the whole project is still being held up, has not been started yet. Because we approved this back in October. I thought we were just going to finalize a different length of the funding.
Yes, and I maybe could have just taken this to budget, but I thought y'all would want the update before we take it to budget. But yes, as I'm planning at the next board meeting to have the finalized agreement approved by the board.
I was just under the impression we'd already started some of the work. We have.
No.
We have not. Okay.
No.
All right. Well,
It stopped. I mean, it was brought to us, but we did not have the funding, exactly how we were going to fund it, and that we said that whenever they worked it out, it would come back to on our agenda when the funding was decided. So, I guess what the mayor was saying is that we could possibly bring it to, if you're bringing it to your committee and our committee, when budget meets at the same night.
If this committee is all right with that, generally when budget committee meets, I'm sure that Mr. Gill and Mr. Wise would be willing to put this first on our agenda, and then I'd be here for budget committee, if that's all right with this committee.
That'd be March 4th.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from any other committee member?
Yes. Understanding the total cost is $2.3 million with the state grant or federal grant of
Yes, the total cost is $2.3 million. $741,000 of that is an out-and-out grant to us.
and then financing the 1.5 or 1.6
Right.
those means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the average debt service or lease purchase payment for this would be $240,000 a year, and we would save about $180,000 a year, is Mr. Karoom's company's estimate. So it's a net cost to us of about $60,000 a year for 7 years.
And then a savings of $180,000 from there on out.
Yes, sir.
Would new buildings automatically be equipped with this?
Yes, sir. As we did with the lighting upgrades in our new buildings, we automatically moved to that technology.
These are exactly the same figures we dealt with in October, and I don't have my October motion in front of me, but,
They are the exact
so,
figures.
okay. Any other questions from the committee? Then I need a motion to approve this in a second.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Gooch, thank you. A second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Jordan, and we need a voice vote on this one, is that right, or no? Okay, we need to send this on the budget on March 4th, even though it's the same figures. Okay, call the roll if you would. Thank you, Ms. Shelton.
Commissioner Bullen? Yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Okay, I got a good microphone. Mine works. Anybody want to borrow mine, they're welcome to do so. Okay, Mr. Sandvik, Eagleville High School addition, and a brief explanation coming from you and a recommended motion.
Yes. And again, in my conversations yesterday with Mr. Gill, he did ask me to convey to y'all his support for this project. The school board voted last week to request a $5.3 million for Eagleville High School, aiming to open it in August of 2012. This phase includes classrooms, the auditorium, and renovation of the cafeteria. Phase 2 of the project will be a $2.7 million East Wing classroom addition. And our recommended motion, of course, is to approve this $5.3 million Phase 1 addition for Eagleville High School to open in August 2012, including the classrooms and auditorium and renovation of the cafeteria.
Okay, Mr. Sandvik, thank you very much. I have asked today, or they have asked me to speak briefly to the committee, and there are certainly two experts on Eagleville High School. As a matter of fact, I don't know of any greater expert than the principal, Ms. Holton. And Ms. Holton, if you would come on up, and School Board Member Wayne Blair, who represents the area, and if you'd like to stand at the podium, Ms. Holton, you're welcome to do so, or if you'd like to sit and use the microphone there, and Mr. Blair, whatever you'd like to do is fine as well. That'd be wonderful. And welcome to the Health Education meeting in February. I'm glad to have you both with us today. Ms. Holton, you heard the motion, and there is no greater expert on Eagleville High School than you are, and I have been exposed to that numerous times. You have a considerable amount of passion for anything maroon and white. And if you would like to address the committee briefly on the needs of Eagleville High School and its students, I'd appreciate it if you'd do so.
Thank you. First, I would like to say a special thank you to the board for sending this recommendation to the Health and Ed, and for you tonight giving us an opportunity to express our desire to be here, and a special thanks to moving us to this nice big room. We're used to tight quarters, so when we got to move in here, boy, it feels really good. So we're looking forward to space like this. So thank you for moving to a big room so everyone could be here. I just have a few points that I want to make. I understand you've had a lot of emails and phone calls, so you're probably not going to hear anything new from me. But just a couple of things that I have been looking into over the past few days, because this has come up pretty quickly. And then if you have any questions to me, I'll be glad to answer them. We do currently have 14 classrooms outside and a portable, and you may think, according to the other schools in the county, that's not a tremendous amount, because there may be others who have that many. But the important thing to remember about that at Eagleville is we have only 16 high school classrooms inside. So half of our population every period in high school is outside of our building. I was just curious today and made an announcement after we got through with our high school lunch in between bells and said, would any students who do not have a class in a portable anytime during the day, please come to the office at this time. There were 5 students. So during the course of the day, all but 5 high school students at Iggleville visit a portable at some point in time. So that figures up to be 99% of our students spend part of their time of the day in portables. You know, when the sun's out, it's not that big a deal. It's a nice walk, but we know what this winter has been like. We have children that are wet and cold and sick all day long because of that. Not only the unfavorable conditions of the weather, but also the situation of safety. Our Rutherford County school system is excellent and constantly worries about the safety of children. They recently installed in our school doors that lock. So you come in the front doors, and then when school starts, the doors lock there that go onto the hallway, and all they can do is come through to the secretary to get admission into the hallway, which is fantastic. But the joke of all of that is every outside classroom, every outside door, other than the very front one, is open, because when half of your students are outside, you can't lock your doors. So all safety is lost at that point. When we had a few portables and the weather was bad and we would have storms, we would immediately, even before there was tremendous threat, we would go on and move them in, especially because you don't want to move a child in torrential rain and lightning right before the major part of the storm. We no longer can do that unless we move everybody just to a gymnasium, which is not always the safest area there. Because when we've got that many kids, when our kids in the building get into the hallways, there's not room for the other half of the children that's in the portables. So the weather issue is a really serious issue. We have 7 high school science classes that go on during the day in portables with no lab situations. Not only is it a problem for the students to not have the opportunity to, and the teacher to have all the things they need to teach those labs, which science is definitely, you all know, a hands-on class. The safety issue is always there too, with not having access to water when you're dealing with things that might need an eye wash or some other situation like that. Those are just, of course, students needing to go to the restroom. A kid gets out to the portable, they have to go to the restroom, you have to come back in the building. You know, it's not a quick across the hall into the restroom. You know, it's all the way up from the portable and all the way back down to the portable. So it's just, you know, it's just a major problem. And, you know, we don't even have a place to put any more portables. That's what they told us last year when they brought the last one. There's no more space. We've lost all of our parking to where the portables sit. So then when you talk about an auditorium, you know, we're not asking for fluff. We're simply asking for what everybody else already has. I don't know of any school in Rutherford County, high school or middle school, that doesn't have an auditorium. We're the only one that I know of that doesn't. In fact, I don't know of any high school anywhere around in the state of Tennessee that doesn't have an auditorium. Our students have their plays on a very small stage in the cafeteria. We call it the cafetorium. Their productions are limited to 12 to 15 students at one time because the stage can't accommodate more than that. So numerous kids that want to be involved can't. The band, you try to put that up there. And then once again, our drama classes can't meet but 6th and 7th period because we start lunch at 10:15 and it's over at 1 o'clock. So the cafetorium is tied up being a cafeteria from 10:15 to 1 o'clock in a very small area. We can pull up all the tables, put down 150 folding chairs where everybody is on the very same level, and that's the best we can do for production for students. It's really a very sad situation. It's also the same when we have inductions for the Beta Club, for FFA, for FCCLA, kindergarten graduation, all the way down. It's the only place that we have without moving to the gym, and then you have no stage. It's just a bad situation. So tonight I plead with you. We're just asking. I know that it's hard times, and I know that you have to look at the needs of everyone. And I know the main thing is always comes back to money. I have certainly not been a commissioner, but I have been a member of a school board, and I know that there's never a good time when people ask for money. I don't ever remember there being a year when people said to me, bring it this year, we got plenty of money. I don't ever remember that. And so with that being said tonight, I just beg you to think about this. Think about, I'm a grandmother now, and I really can plead for children now, because I think about the situation, how upset I would be if my grandchildren were attending a school where they got there at 8 o'clock in the morning and they were wet till they got home that afternoon. So thank you for your time and your opportunity to speak, and thank you for this group behind me. I didn't want to talk to them. I talk to them every day.
Thank you, Ms. Holden. Mr. Blair is a school board member from that district, and welcome, Mr. Blair, and whatever you'd like to say, we'd be interested in it.
Good evening, and would like to bring my best regards from the school board and Mr. Gill to this committee. And I might add, what a handsome committee this is also. I think I can safely say for the board and the community as a whole that we've been so grateful for the work that this committee and the commission has accomplished over the years in building schools and adding classrooms and especially renovating some of the older schools, and we do thank you. Again, we come to you with a critical need. Mrs. Holton has expressed it so very well. Security, opportunity, it's just something that the board has thought about. If you watched any of the tapes, discussed it with much vigor, and we humbly ask that this be approved. And like Mrs. Holton said, this is not fluff. This is not something that we want. This is something that is critical for the Eagleville School, and we humbly ask you to approve it.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Appreciate both of you being here tonight. I know you're going to stay with us because I'm sure that some of the committee members will have some comments. I want to, but before I ask our mayor to speak, and he has another engagement that he must go to tonight, and I've asked him to address the committee and audience if he would. He and I have talked about this project on numerous occasions, trying to figure out a way to get it done, and I'm not the financial expert. He is, and Ms. Nolan. But I want to be extremely fair here when I address the audience. First of all, commissioners don't like taxes any better than anybody else does. Secondly, I think I can speak for this committee when I say again to you and remind you again that we are all about, that's what the county commission does. It's all about meeting needs. Nobody wants to be the committee or the commissioner or the person, whatever, that says no. On the other hand, I do want just to remind the audience that the school board does have some budget problems, as does the county. And things unforeseen maybe, and maybe some things not unforeseen. We know it's not the best time in the world, as Ms. Holton said, but there's never a good time. I think I've tried to be very fair here, but I want the audience to be aware of that. We do recognize the need here. Now, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate you obviously always being here with us. I guess just about every meeting that we have in the county every month. And I appreciate if you'd address this issue, and I know you're looking at it from a financial situation. Where can we get this money, and if we indeed approve this, and when?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've I echo the sentiments of our principal and our board member. We all recognize the need of this, and I think we have a way to make this happen. And our finance director and myself and the others in county government, we haven't made any plans. We don't have any real needs. We weren't planning to borrow any additional money this calendar year. And with that being said, our next need to refinance some of our short-term debt will be next spring. And it is our thought that, and I think this is in compliance pretty much with this recommendation that's come from the school board, to open this in August of 2012, this first edition of classrooms, the auditorium, and the renovation of the cafeteria. But I sort of wrote down a few things that I thought would address what we need to say and how we would say it and how this would make it happen. We can't build this without borrowing money. We do not have funds at this moment that are available for this purpose, so we'll have to borrow the money. So I would suggest that you consider some language sort of like this that would say that this group here would endorse the construction of a $5.3 million Phase 1 addition for Eagleville High School, which would include an auditorium, the classrooms, and the renovation of the cafeteria, and recommend to the Budget Committee that the funds for this construction project be obtained at the next issuance of debt by the county, which would be in the neighborhood of April. Is that what we're talking about, Lisa? So if that were to happen and we got the money borrowed, and we will be borrowing money at that point in time, this could come together and it could be a reality. I don't know if that's as soon as some of you were hoping, but I think it's the most practical approach we could take at this moment in time.
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but you said April. You are referring to April 2011.
April of 2011, we will be issuing some debt. We have to refinance some short-term debt we have, and we'll be going to the bond market, and we would like to do this and that need plus any other needs that may occur between now and then at that one time. We just would have a great preference for not issuing a separate whole bond issue for $5 million this fall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. He'll be with us for a few more minutes, and obviously we can ask him questions as well. I want to remind the audience also that the request to speak was obviously granted to the people. Don't normally address committees. I wanted to let you know that the county commission has a public hearing, part of what we have every month, and a public comment as well. And anyone is welcome on that night, and is always granted permission, as far as I know, to speak at that time. You have heard the recommendation committee. We have people here that can, I'm pretty certain, answer any question involving Eagleville High School and Eagleville, really K through 12. It's not just a high school. And I think we're ready. If you have anything, please.
I would just like to move forward and make the motion that the mayor just quoted there, and put that in the form of a motion for the committee, that we forward this on at the next bond issue next year, because as I understand it, this project's roughly a year and we can still meet the completion date, and that will all work well for that and not put us in any kind of extreme bind until the April of next year when we're going to the bond market. So that would be my motion to approve what he's just mentioned.
Okay, let's get the motion as clear as possible here, Ms. Shelton. Are you with me here?
Your motion is that the Health and Ed Committee endorses Phase 1, which includes classrooms, the auditorium, and renovation of the cafeteria, and forwards a recommendation to the Budget Committee that funds be obtained at the next issuance of the county, approximately April 2011.
Okay, at least for the purpose of discussion, I need a second on that motion.
I'll second it. Should that motion include a number, 5.3 million? The mayor mentioned a number, I believe, and I would, 5.3 million. Of course, I don't know how we hold that number when we're a year away.
Well, the 5.3 million is the number that we've been given Mr. Clardy's best estimate at this moment. So it could change a little bit, but that's their number right now.
That number in your motion?
that number in there, right.
Okay, let's,
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
hold on just one second. Are we going to put the 5-3 in there? Okay, we can always make adjustments in the future. Yes, sir, Commissioner McAdoo, please.
Okay, we're talking about phase one, 5.3 million. I guess, I got a concern about, phase two. Phase two is 2.7 million. When are we looking at, doing phase two? If I gotta go to the bond market for 5.3, why I'm not looking at 8 million in 2011?
And Mr. Clardy and I haven't really discussed this yet, but one of the thoughts we always have when we're looking at a project, there would be some construction economies in addressing both halves at the same time. But the board felt the 5.7 was the more crucial of the two. Yeah, 5.3.
I guess what I'm concerned about is looking at the whole project. You got phase one, 5.3, you got phase two, 2.7. So can I get some clarification on the phase two, 2.7? If I was going to the bond market in 2011 and I got to look at 5.3, why I'm not looking at the total project of 8 million?
The board, because of the financial situation right now, had decided that the probability of getting the first phase would be greater without including the second phase on it. Of course, if someone wants to recommend that we do both phases, I'm sure they'll be happy with that also. But they were trying to compromise to a point that they felt like they could bring something forward that would move forward.
Well, I'm still concerned because we're looking at 2011, and we don't really know that 5.3 will do phase one. It could be higher, it could be lower. But I'm looking at phase two, and we should have some time frame or something when we want to incorporate phase two.
It is noted, phase two is noted at the bottom of our building program, although it is not dated at this time. And also, I think Mr. Gill, the reason for bringing only phase one forward is that the school board was concerned that there might be some things that come up that we would need money for other than that, and that the phase one would give them the auditorium, give them the classrooms and science labs that they need, and get out of those portables. Now, that doesn't give any room for growth because the phase two has 10 classrooms on it, which would take care of future growth for a while. But I think they were just mainly concerned that there might be some other needs arise that we might have to ask for. That would be a greater priority.
I'm not knocking phase one, but I think coming out of this committee, shouldn't we go ahead and approve the total project? And so we'll know that we'll be looking at doing phase two down the line instead of just looking at that one portion?
Well, I think we need to give a little bit of deference here to the school board. I mean, they have a lot of other things that they have listed as priority, and I think they need to sort of sift through those before we decide if we want to go the whole way. I mean, that's sort of the tone of the conversation that we've had over a few times about this. So, but it's up to you to do what you choose to do. But I think they had some other things. This will allow for growth in capacity of enrollment, and I guess they were thinking maybe there's some other things would take a little bit of priority over that at this time. So that's the best answer we have with Mr. Gill not being here and the other school board members not being here.
Well, we got school board member here. Maybe he can clear me up on it.
As Mr. Clardy has already said, the board felt like it was being prudent by asking for something that we felt was immediately critical. But we'd be pleased, I believe, if you would approve the entire project, because we really need both projects, but knowing that we're in this financial winter as we are, that the prudent request to make sure that you didn't run us out of here when we came with our hands out again would be to ask for the auditorium and classrooms, which will take the place of a number of portables. So, but both projects would completely get our children out of portables, and would that be right, Mrs. Holton? And everybody would have a classroom. So we would certainly appreciate that endeavor, but knowing how often that we come to you asking you for for funds, because the commission is the funding body, and we would certainly be appreciative to have both projects at the same time, but thought it was more prudent to ask you for what we needed that was critical at this time.
So you're saying that we got a time frame here of 2010 of February, and we're looking at going to the bond market in 2011. So you're telling me that the school board will be coming back with other projects before we go to the bond market in 2011?
I can't say that for sure, and I don't have any notes at my disposal at this point. But Mr. Clardy, do you have any in your list? Do you have anything at this time that we have approved other than what's been approved and already funded?
I didn't bring the building plan with us, but we will be asking, and I'm not sure of the date on this, for a high school. And then I believe there's an elementary school following that at some point. So we're talking $50 million there, and I really think that we have brought forward what has been voted on by the school board, and I really hate to make any kind of commitment on their part without their approval. So I think that would be a question to take back and let the entire school board make a decision on that, with us trying to guess what decision they would make.
Well, endorsing a concept, and we got 14 months before we go to bond market. They give the school board plenty of opportunity to look at it and decide if they want to amend this, because there's going to be a whole lot more than this $5 million in that bond issuance next year. And I support this for the most part, but there's probably 20 other schools out there that have the exact same argument on everything except for the auditorium. There's kids all over this county. They're walking outside to go into portables, and their doors are having to be unlocked and all. And I got a feeling this is going to pass tonight, but I've also got a feeling that everybody else is going to see this, and our phone's going to start ringing from a Laverne or a Smyrna school or somewhere else that has a lot of portables, and they'll say, hey, we want help too. So we probably don't want to commit ourselves to too much money tonight, because we're liable to have to help somebody else next month.
I think what Mr. McAdoo has pointed out here is really an excellent point. That phase 2 of the project is mentioned in the amount, but as a protection to Eagleville High School, Eagleville School, it might be nice to mention a completion date for that. Otherwise, it just hangs out there into the distant future. And I think, I'm pretty certain that Eagleville's an expert on distant futures. So I think he's making an excellent point, but what Commissioner Jordan said is exactly right. If the school board wants to amend this and put in the entire project, maybe with an improved economy, whatever, next spring, you can certainly look at that. If not, we tack a date onto this thing. And I'm just suggesting now, I'm not on the school board, but tack a date on to phase 2, approve the concept, and begin construction on phase 1, and the borrowing process. That's why I don't know that Mr. Williams has to amend his motion or not. I wouldn't think so, but that's up to him. It's his motion.
No, I mean, with all of the work that's gone into this at this point, and what they've looked at to try to get through with what the minimum can, and trying to, sometimes you say 2.7 million, it doesn't sound like a lot, but you get several of those, as Will was talking about. I think that we have enough time for them to get back and reevaluate this, look at construction cost and the savings. And Commissioner McAdoo's point is very valid, that we may be able to condense all of them together, but we have time enough to come back and amend that and let the school board and to look at that before we go to the bond, because we have several months before we do that. And by doing it this way, we will get this in the pipeline so we can know that we have at least the initial phase of this, that's the critical part, with some definite time of having this thing resolved. So I don't care to amend anything.
Okay, and thank you, Commissioner Williams. Mr. Clardy or Ms. Holt, either one of you, with phase 1, we've got the auditorium, we've got the lab with water, moved inside with their own lab. We've knocked out that stage that I stood on the night Buddy Pate retired, and essentially have renovated the cafeteria as a result of that. And how many new classrooms do we have?
There's 12 classrooms total in there, plus a choral room and also a band room. So
all in phase 1?
Yes.
Thank you.
Correct.
Commissioners?
Mentioned that it's going to take all 22 classrooms to get everyone out of a portable, or just phase 1 at this time?
Right now, phase 1 would get everybody, excuse me, out of the current portables that we have. We do have no special ed teachers have a classroom. We have 2 other teachers that use other people's classrooms on their planning time. So those folks still probably would not have a classroom. But everybody with phase 1, everybody should come out of a portable.
And then phase 2 is primarily for growth.
Yes. Okay. And that's where we're looking at growth, especially in the elementary. Most of our elementary classrooms are right at capacity. Of course, with the BEP, elementary's at a fixed rate. You can have this many kids, then you got to have another classroom. So we've kind of been the last few years right on that borderline. Now, once that goes over, then pretty much what you have is a growing, with a classroom each year, or you might have that you go over 4 classrooms in 1 year. So then that's 4 additional classrooms. So that's where the concern has been for the additional classrooms in the future, is more for when the elementary is growing. Right now, our most growth has been predominantly in our high school. So that's the situation that we're in. And to Mr. Jordan, I would like to, I know exactly what you're saying. We certainly are not trying to pretend that we're the only school that has portables. But I think the bad situation at Eagleville is this. Our portables are housing high school students. When you house elementary students in portables, don't get me wrong, I'm not wanting that either. But at least when they get there in the morning, other than going to wherever they're going to next, it's not every hour. You're not, you're going to lunch, and hopefully a lot of places do have awnings going to them. We don't have awnings. And so phase 1, I would also like to point out, will connect the end of our new building that was built after the fire to the new gymnasium, because kids get drowned going from there to there. So once phase one is built, that will be another area. They're not going to a portable, but there's never been an awning put up, so they're drenched from that place to that place. So once again, that will take care of a weather situation for us. Thank you.
Further questions from any committee member?
Mr. Chairman, well, I was looking at just what you said, phase one. Phase one would get us out of the portables as of right now. So we're talking about a year before we even get to funding. So we're talking about this project being completed in 2012. So if we complete this project in 2012, you can't convince me that we will be out of the portables. That's the reason I'm trying to get a time frame on this phase two. Because really, we're not taking care of the situation of being out of the portables if we do not include phase two. That's the only thing I want the committee to see. So if we're going to forward a concept, let's go ahead and forward the concept of the total project so we can get out of the portables at Eagleville. That's the only thing I want us to see, because if we pass phase one thinking we're going to be all right in 2 years, we're not, because the data is based on right now. So we will not be out of the portables.
Dr. Bullock.
On this, there are two of us on this committee that are on the budget committee. So I've got a question. Do you really want this to go to budget now and run the risk that it gets beat up there, or do you want to table this and send it later on in the summer when the regular budget's been determined? If it goes to budget and it gets beat there, then you've lost the project. If it gets out of the budget, then it's going to the commission, where it's going to really get hard there, because now you're facing all these people that represent other schools that have similar problems. And if you get beat up there, you've lost the project. I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying you need to consider this, which one or two of us have talked about it before, that there's a strategy in getting this through. Now, the mayor's wording suggested to send it on to budget. So my first question is to the mayor. Mayor, if we do that, you're confident it'll go through budget?
Well, I can't speak for the budget committee, but we're talking about, we're going to recommend this to budget. I believe it will go through budget at the way we've structured this. They don't have to actually fund this until next April. So that's when the budget committee will be making the decisions on what components to include in that. So I think there's every probability in the world that it's going to be done. Okay. That's my judgment, even though I don't
think there's any question that this will be done eventually. I'm for this project. Now, the motion, what does the motion actually say? Do they want this sent forward to the budget now?
No, that's not my motion.
Well,
my motion is to send it, is to approve this and to send it to budget at the point that we're going to go to the bond market.
No, which, that's not the way it came across.
Well, that's my motion, and that's what, that's the way that I understand it.
Well, so that's why I'm speaking up down here. We need to get this straight.
Ms. Shelton?
I have a motion as the Health and Ed Committee endorses phase one, which includes classrooms, the auditorium, and renovation of the cafeteria, and recommends that the Budget Committee fund this of approximately $5.3 million. The funding be obtained at the next issuance of the county, approximately April 2011.
Well, I'll yield the floor temporarily to Commissioner Williams so he can clarify his
motion. My motion is, as I understand Mayor Burgess is saying, that we will forward this on to the Budget Committee next April is the time that they would hear this in with the package that they're going to go to the bond market. This will be part of the package that will be considered at that time. Well, I'm not suggesting that we send it to budget until that time. So I don't know the word table is appropriate, but just that it would go to the budget committee at the next opportunity, be it March, April, or whenever, May, whenever we're going to the bond market, that this would be included in the package that we are requesting.
I think that's basically the motion that Becky has read
Right,
back to us.
that's-
She is,
but
we're
not to go to
recommending it to
budget
the
next-
budget, that they include this in their funding that will be done at the spring refunding of this other short-term debt on or about April of next year. We'll have to go before budget before April, but we'll be doing that in February, March, and then we'll have the actual funding defined and executed in the time frame of April.
Well, I'm just bringing things up. I'm not, if I had my way, we'd do this. But there's an election in August. Some commissioners aren't going to be back. I'm not going to be back. You may have a new committee. You could even have a new chairman. And you leave this motion hanging in the air about we're going to do something sometime down the road. I would like to see it solidified a little bit so that if things do change, you've already got it in the pipeline, and if anybody else comes up here, they've got to change it. Not just ignore it. It's there. It's a difference between just ignoring something and then being forced to change it. So I'd like for you to give a little bit more thought to that, and if you're willing to do that, my next comment is, I've been out there to see all this, but I don't remember exactly where some things are. They keep complaining about the rain and people getting wet and an awning. Is it possible that an awning can be put up there for the next school year to get us through, and how much would that cost and how big would that be? That would be a temporary thing until the regular project was completed, or is that not feasible at all?
There's a possibility to cover part of it, but the way the entire area is set up with the different portables, it'd be very difficult to keep them out of the rain all the time. It's a possibility that you could put a main awning out from the back of the school down that would keep them dry, but also there's a lot of traffic through that area with vehicles, but I will investigate that and I'll bring it back forward. I think it's a good idea and it's worth investigating.
Okay, well, that's all I'm asking is you look into it. If that gives some temporary relief till you can get this done. So that's all I'm doing is throwing that out. All right, the final thing that I've mentioned to one or two of you about, this came up on a 4-3 vote. To me, that's a pitiful recommendation. When the board sends anything up here on a 4-3 vote, they need to be 6-1, 7-0 every time they bring construction cost up here. But I think we all see the need for it, and that's why I'm trying to get you to nail this down as specifically as you can so that it'll be moving along the pipeline nicely. Anytime there's a 4-3 vote, that just means one person can change their mind and the whole thing's down the river. And I'll just leave it at that. If Commissioner Williams wants to leave the motion as they have it now, that's fine. It's his motion. Or you want to state more specifically that we'll look at a time in August, or we'll look at it again in November or sometime? I'll just throw this out to the committee to talk about. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Bullen. I believe Commissioner Williams has clarified his motion. I think, and Ms. Shelton is going to read, and Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Chairman, was you that seconded? I believe you did. Let's see where we are. Yes, sir.
I'll just go through. My intent is what I've talked with Mayor Burgess about, is that we have moved this forward from our committee in the pipeline to be waiting to be funded at the next bond issue. So the next phase of this, in my mind, in this motion, would be going to the budget committee for the funding at the next bond issue, be that February, March, or April, at the appropriate time. So in my mind, the motion has pushed it pass this committee to them in the pipeline to get in line to get the money. So if that's not what I have said, that's what I meant with my motion. And that's what I thought I discussed with Mayor Burgess on that.
Let's see what Ms. Shelton has.
The Health and Ed Committee endorses Phase 1, including classrooms, auditorium, and renovation of classrooms at a cost of approximately $5.3 million, and forward the same to the Budget Committee for funding when the county goes to the bond market approximately April 2011.
Commissioner Jordan? All right, a second there.
Fine with me.
Now, we have not really addressed, I think, legitimate concerns from Commissioner McAdoo. This bothers me, and I hadn't even thought about it. I never gave it a thought, but evidently he did. I don't know how to address this with. I understand why it's in two phases. I got that, and that's I think part of teamwork between school board and county commission. We need to nail down that phase 2. We need to do something with that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, we really do need to address phase 2 some way tonight, or get a time frame on it or something, because Dr. Bullen hit on a good point. If we tie down phase 1 and we leave phase 2 out there hanging, next year it could be a new committee, new commission, a new board altogether. And I've seen it happen in the past. Phase 2 will just be somewhere floating. There was an idea that was brought up a year ago and nothing was done about it. And to achieve what we're trying to achieve at Eagleville High School, we're going to have phase 2. So I don't know how we need to do it, but we need to go ahead and try to incorporate phase 2 with a time frame so this will not be a incomplete project, is what I'm saying. Phase 1, okay, we got it. Phase 2, we don't have it. So therefore, in the future, this will be an incomplete project that the commission will be looking at. But if we go ahead and discuss and tie down phase 2, then the entire commission will know what it takes to complete this project at Eagleville. Because I know last month you brought up that we purchased a house and you renovating it for new classrooms and so on and so forth, which is good. But if we do not tie down phase 2 some kind of way with a time frame, I'm afraid it's just going to disappear.
As I said earlier, the school board's got 14 months to come up and decide, because there's always going to be a building program. There's going to be another phase every single school we've got as the years go on. There'll be something to replace, something to add on to, a new HVA system, a new something, so I'm not that concerned about ironing out phase 2 tonight. The school board can address that any time the next year and bring that back to us. The school boards it's their job to decide which direction we go, and we decide more or less if we're going to fund it. And now we've got a request up here, and now we're trying to say, well, let's go to the next step. We could throw another school in here that's got some portables right now too and fix that for another $2 or $3 million. But that's not the request from the school board at this time.
I'm not as particularly concerned as Commissioner McAdoo is, but I tell you what, the man makes an excellent point. and as protection to Eagleville High School, you'd like to think you get to the end of this project and the commission, the commission will be different. There'll be, as far as I know right now, at least 3 new members, and could be many more. We don't know what they might approve or not approve, and I think what we're looking for right now is approval. And it troubles me that it's not there, but I'm going to vote for this regardless. Commissioner Gooch.
Well, I would just want to comment that I don't think that we should address phase 2 for 2 reasons. One, the school board has not asked us to. I don't think it's really much of our business to get into their business when they haven't brought something to us. And certainly what Commissioner Jordan said, that if if we vote tonight to, in essence, do away with most of the portables in Eagleville, and at the same time discuss classrooms that they've said they really don't need right now, when there's schools out there with portables, I think would be a mistake on our part. So I think that we should vote with Commissioner Williams' current motion and just leave phase 2 to the school board to come back at a later time.
Thank you, Commissioner Gooch. Are there other comments? Commissioner Williams?
I'd just like to move forward on a little bit of what Commissioner McAdoo was saying, and just asked Mr. Blair if he would just go back and to come up with some sort of dates on this phase 2, so we can put not tonight, but in the next few months, and to give us a little bit more direction on where that's going to be, so we can tie up the loose ends that Commissioner McAdoo would like to do.
I will, excuse me, I'll speak with Mr. Gill this week.
Commissioners, any further comment?
I got one comment. If this does pass, I hope everybody realizes this is for completion and opening in August of 2012. I had several phone calls today from people who had sophomores, juniors, and seniors at Eagleville High School, and I hate to say it, but those kids will not still be at Eagleville High School in August of, hopefully, they will graduate. August of 2012. You know, if my math's correct, the freshmen this year will be seniors at that point in time, and they'll be able to enjoy this their senior year. But you know, this is down the pike a little ways.
Commissioners, any further comment? If not, I'm going to assume that you're ready to vote. And this will eventually end in a trip to budget and for financing, so I assume we need a voice vote. Ms. Shelton. Commissioners, last opportunity here. Anybody want the motion read again? I assume everyone is ready. Ms. Shelton, call the roll, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. I'd like to ask the folks in the audience just to stay seated for just a second, if you would. I don't know that we I don't know that we have any other business to discuss tonight. Are we in good shape? We've finished with our agenda. Thank you for putting up with our delay and coming into this larger room. I think everybody was more comfortable. Committee, I appreciate the excellent discussion. Guests, Mr. Clardy, Mr. Sandvik, Ms. Holden, Mr. Blair, thank you very much for coming. Thank all of you for coming. We are adjourned.